Picture this. A father sits alone in his car at 3 in the morning. Engine off. Phone dead. He's been crying for 2 hours. Tomorrow he has to go to court. Not because he did something wrong, but because he wants to see his own children. His ex-wife says he's dangerous. He's not. She says he's angry. He's just broken. The judge will probably believe her. Why? Because society decided long ago that men don't feel pain the way other people do. This is not a story. This is happening right now. To millions of men, and nobody cares. Welcome to Raw and Real. Today, we're going to talk about something nobody wants to hear. Men are suffering, and we've all agreed to look the other way. The shadow self Carl Jung once said something that changed how I see the world. He said, "Everyone carries a shadow. And the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." What's the shadow? It's the part of us we hide. The part we're ashamed of. The part society tells us is wrong. For men, that shadow is pain. We've been taught since childhood that pain is weakness. That suffering is something we deserve if we're not strong enough. That asking for help makes us less than human. So we hide it. We bury it deep. We carry it in silence until it crushes us. Jung knew this. He understood that what we refuse to see doesn't disappear. It grows. It festers. It becomes darker and heavier until it destroys us from the inside. The invisible crisis. Let me give you some numbers. Real numbers. The kind that should make you stop and think. 4 men kill themselves for every 1 woman. 4. That's not a small gap. That's a crisis. 93% of people who die at work are men. Construction workers, miners, soldiers, fishermen. They die building the world we all live in. And we don't even notice. 78% of murder victims are men. 3 out of 4 people killed violently are male. But when do you ever hear about that? These aren't just statistics. These are brothers, fathers, sons, friends, real human beings whose pain we've decided doesn't count. The Stoic trap Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Beautiful words, true words, but dangerous when twisted. Society took Stoicism and turned it into a weapon against men. Be strong, don't complain, handle it, man up. Stoicism was supposed to teach us to face life with courage and wisdom. Instead, it became an excuse to ignore male suffering. Marcus Aurelius never said, "Pretend you don't hurt." He never said, "Suffer alone." He said to accept what we cannot change and work on what we can. But men today? They're told to accept everything, to change nothing, to just endure until they break. The Father Juan, I know a man. Good man, works 2 jobs, never missed a payment, loves his kids more than life itself. His ex-wife took the children 3 states away. Just left, didn't ask, didn't care. He went to court. Spent his savings on lawyers, showed up every time. Did everything right. The judge gave him 2 weekends a month. 48 hours out of 720. Why? Because the system believes children need mothers more than fathers. The system believes men are optional. The system believes male love doesn't matter as much. That man calls his kids every night. They're getting older now. Starting to sound distant. Starting to forget him. He told me last week he doesn't know how much longer he can keep going. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But what happens when society takes away your why? When they remove your children, your purpose, your reason to keep fighting? You get 4 times the suicide rate. That's what happens. The mask we wear, here's what most people don't understand. Men aren't emotionless. They're not cold. They're not naturally distant. They're trained. From the time a boy is 5 years old, he learns the rules. Don't cry. Don't complain. Don't show weakness. Don't need anyone. By the time he's a man, the mask is permanent. He can't take it off even when he's alone. Sigmund Freud talked about the ego and the superego. The real self and the self we show the world. For men, these 2 selves are miles apart. The real self is drowning, screaming, begging for help. But the false self? It's fine, always fine. Everything's under control? Until it's not. Until the mask cracks. until the man breaks completely, and when he does, society doesn't ask what went wrong, it asks what was wrong with him. The loneliness epidemic. Men today are lonelier than at any point in history. Study after study proves this. They have fewer friends, weaker connections, no support systems. Why? Because every space they try to create gets attacked. Men's groups are called toxic. Male friendships are called shallow. Men gathering without women present is suspicious. Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. If he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom." But there's a difference between choosing solitude and being forced into isolation. Men aren't choosing this loneliness. They're being pushed into it, then blamed for being there. The double standard. Watch how this works in real life. A woman struggles at work. She's overwhelmed. She's stressed. People rush to help. They offer support. They ask what they can do. A man struggles at work. He's told to work harder, to be more efficient, to stop making excuses. A woman suffers from depression. Society says, get help. You matter. You deserve support. A man suffers from depression. Society says, stop being weak. Other people have it worse. Be grateful for what you have. Same pain, different response. Why? Because we've decided that male suffering is either deserved or exaggerated. The courage to speak. Jordan Peterson said something important. He said, you're going to pay a price for every bloody thing you do and everything you don't do. So you better figure out what's worth paying for. Men are paying the price right now, in silence, in isolation, in death. The price for speaking up, being called names, being attacked, being told you're making it up. The price for staying silent? Suicide, addiction, a life of quiet desperation. Both prices are brutal, but at least speaking up gives you a chance. This is just the beginning. We've barely scratched the surface of how deep this goes. In the next few minutes, we're going to go deeper. We're going to look at the systems that create this suffering, the beliefs that maintain it, and most importantly, what we can actually do about it. Because here's the truth. Recognizing male suffering doesn't diminish anyone else's pain. It doesn't take anything away from anyone. It simply acknowledges that suffering is human, that pain doesn't have a gender, that everyone deserves to be seen. If you're still watching, you already know something's wrong. You felt it. You've seen it. Maybe you've lived it. Stay with me. This gets harder before it gets better. But it does get better. The expendable class. Let me tell you about Jake, 28 years old, worked construction, good at his job, took care of his mother, saved money for a house. Last year, he fell 3 stories. Safety harness failed. Company cut corners. Jake died on impact. The news didn't cover it. No protests, no hashtags. No national conversation about construction worker safety. Why? Because Jake was doing what men are supposed to do. Work dangerous jobs. Risk their lives. Keep society running. His death was just part of the cost of doing business. Machiavelli understood power better than almost anyone. He wrote, "Since it is difficult to join them together, it is safer to be feared than loved when one of the two must be absent." But there's something Machiavelli also knew. Power doesn't fear what it can replace easily. And society treats men as replaceable. Another man will take Jake's job. Another man will climb those scaffolds. Another man will fall. And life goes on. The silent violence. Here's what nobody wants to talk about. Men are the primary victims of violence. Not women, men. Random attacks on the street, mostly male victims. Bar fights, male victims. Robberies gone wrong, male victims. Gang violence, male victims. But when society talks about safety, who do we focus on? When we discuss violence prevention, whose fear do we center? I'm not saying other people don't face violence. They do. All violence is wrong. But we've created this myth that men are invulnerable, that male pain from violence somehow counts less. A man gets beaten bloody on the street. He's told, you should have been more aware, should have fought better, should have been stronger. The same attack happens to someone else. It's a crisis. It's trauma. It's proof the world is dangerous. Same violence. Different reaction, always. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, taught us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. But here's the problem. We don't even let men react. We don't give them space to process violence, to admit fear, to acknowledge pain. We just expect them to shake it off and keep moving. The courtroom injustice, the legal system doesn't even pretend to be fair to men anymore. Same crime, same circumstances, same evidence. A man gets 63% longer in prison than a woman. 63%. That's not a small difference. That's systematic discrimination. A woman commits a violent crime. The court looks at her background, her trauma, her circumstances. They ask what led her to this point. A man commits the same crime. The court sees a criminal, period. No context needed. No humanity required. I knew a man who defended himself from an attack. Someone came at him with a knife. He pushed them away. They fell, hit their head, died. Self-defense, right? Clear case. He should have walked free. Instead, he got 12 years. Why? Because the attacker was smaller. Because he should have known his own strength. Because men are always assumed to be the aggressor. 12 years of his life. Gone. For not letting someone kill him. Hobbes wrote about the state of nature. The life of man. Solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. For men trapped in a broken legal system, that's not philosophy. That's reality. The erasure of male victims, sexual assault, domestic violence, abuse. When we hear these words, we picture one type of victim, never male. But here's the truth. When you include prison populations, men are sexually assaulted at nearly the same rate as women in this country. Nearly the same rate. Think about that. Where are the awareness campaigns? Where are the support groups? Where are the resources? They don't exist. Because we decided male victims don't count. Or worse, that they're funny. Prison rape jokes are comedy gold in movies. Late-night TV hosts make them regularly. Everyone laughs. Imagine making those same jokes about female victims. Your career would end, rightfully so. But male victims? They're a punchline. Not people. Robert Greene teaches about power and vulnerability. He says, the best deceptions are the ones that seem to give the other person a choice. Your victims feel they are in control, but are actually your puppets. Society gives men a choice. Speak up about your abuse and be mocked, or stay silent and suffer alone. That's not a choice. That's a trap. The father as wallet family court is where the bias becomes impossible to ignore. A father wants to be in his child's life. He shows up to every event, pays every bill, loves his kids with everything he has. The mother is neglectful. Documented proof. School records, police reports, everything you need. Guess who gets primary custody? The mother. Almost every time. Why? Because the system believes women are natural caregivers and men are natural paychecks. They don't say it that way, they use pretty words. Best interest of the child, maternal bond, stability. But what they mean is simple. Fathers are optional. Fathers are ATMs. Fathers are visitors in their own children's lives. I've watched good men destroyed by this. Men who wanted nothing more than to be present, to read bedtime stories, to help with homework, to just be dad. Instead, they get 2 weekends a month and a child support bill that never ends. Plato said, the measure of a man is what he does with power. But what about when a man has no power? When the system strips him of every right? When he's obligated to provide but prohibited from participating? That's not justice. That's cruelty with a gavel. The economic exploitation men are told they're privileged. They have all the power, all the advantages. Meanwhile, they're working themselves to death. Literally, longer hours, more dangerous jobs, higher stress. And what do they get for it? The expectation to work even harder. A man loses his job. Does society support him? Offer retraining? Provide resources? No. Society asks what's wrong with him. Why isn't he providing? Why isn't he useful? Because that's all men are in modern society. Utility. Value is measured by what you produce. What you provide. What you sacrifice. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck believed organisms adapt to survive in their environment. That change comes from use and necessity. Men have adapted. They work until they break. They suppress emotions until they explode. They sacrifice health, happiness, and humanity to meet expectations they never agreed to. And when they finally collapse, society doesn't ask what it did wrong. It asks what was wrong with them. The mental prison depression in men looks different. It doesn't always look sad. It looks angry, withdrawn, numb. Men with depression don't cry in public. They rage in private. They drink alone. They disappear quietly. And because their suffering doesn't look the way society expects, it gets ignored. Why are you so angry? They're asked. Not, why are you hurting? Not, how can I help? Just judgment. Just dismissal. Just more isolation. Albert Ellis, who created rational emotive behavior therapy, taught that it's not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of events. But what happens when society interprets your suffering as weakness? When your pain is seen as a character flaw, when asking for help proves you're inadequate, your interpretation doesn't matter anymore. Society's interpretation becomes your reality. The warrior myth, we worship the warrior, the protector. The strong, silent type who handles everything alone. Movies, shows, books, all celebrate this image. The man who never breaks, never bends, never needs anyone. It's a lie. And it's killing men. Real warriors in history had brothers, communities, support systems. They fought together, grieved together, healed together. Modern men are told to be warriors without the tribe. Soldiers without the unit, fighters without the corner. Just you, alone, against everything. Nietzsche wrote, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. But that's incomplete. What doesn't kill you can still break you, can still traumatize you, can still leave you damaged for life. Strength isn't infinite. Resilience has limits. And pretending otherwise just creates more suffering. The addiction escape when the pain becomes unbearable. Men find ways to cope. Usually unhealthy ones. Alcohol, drugs, gambling, porn, video games. Anything to numb the constant ache. They're not addicts because they're weak. They're addicts because they're human. And humans in constant pain will do anything to make it stop. But society sees the addiction and ignores the pain underneath. Treats the symptom, ignores the disease. Just stop drinking. Just quit using. Just be stronger. As if willpower alone can fix systemic neglect. As if personal responsibility can overcome societal abandonment. Segment 2 closing, we're halfway through. And if you're feeling heavy right now, I understand. This isn't easy to hear. It's not supposed to be. But here's why we have to keep going, because silence hasn't worked. Ignoring the problem hasn't worked. Hoping it gets better hasn't worked. The only thing that works is truth. Raw, uncomfortable, undeniable truth. In the next segment, we're going to shift. We're going to look at why this happened, how we got here. And most importantly, we're going to start talking about solutions. Because this isn't just about pointing out problems. It's about finding a way forward. Stay with me. The hardest part is behind us. Now we start building the roots of invisibility. So how do we get here? How did male suffering become invisible? It didn't happen overnight. It happened slowly, over generations, through small choices that became big patterns. Carl Jung talked about the collective unconscious, the shared beliefs and symbols that exist across all cultures. One of those shared beliefs is simple and ancient. Men are strong. Not men can be strong. Not men should develop strength. Just men are strong. And if men are strong by nature, then they can't really be hurt. They can't really suffer. They can't really need help. It's a belief so old we don't even question it anymore. We just accept it as truth, but Jung also warned us. He said, "Thinking is difficult. Therefore let the herd pronounce judgment." We stopped thinking about whether this belief was true. We just let the herd repeat it until it became reality. The historical contract: men would protect and provide, risk their lives, work dangerous jobs, fight wars, build civilization. In return, they got respect, recognition, a place of honor. Their sacrifice was acknowledged. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't equal. But it was something. Then the world changed. The contract broke. But only one side. Men are still expected to protect, to provide, to sacrifice. to be useful, but the respect, the recognition, the honor? Gone. Modern men have all the old obligations, with none of the old rewards. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He wrote, "Men ought either to be well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries, of more serious ones they cannot." Society has injured men seriously, stripped away their purpose, their recognition, their value beyond utility. But society hasn't crushed them completely, so men are stuck. Too hurt to thrive, too alive to give up. The shadow grows. When we ignore male suffering, we're not making it disappear. We're pushing it into the shadow. And shadows always grow in darkness. Every man who suffers in silence adds to that shadow. Every boy taught to suppress his pain feeds it. Every father denied his children strengthens it. The shadow is getting bigger, darker, more dangerous. And eventually, shadows consume everything. Jung warned, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. We need to bring male suffering into the light, not to blame anyone, not to diminish anyone else, but because darkness ignored becomes darkness unleashed. The empathy gap, it's not conscious, it's not deliberate. It's wired into us through culture and conditioning. A baby cries. If people think it's a girl, they pick her up faster, hold her longer, comfort her more. Same baby, same cry, different response based solely on perceived gender. By adulthood, this gap is massive. Male pain registers as less urgent, less real, less important. Arthur Schopenhauer saw this clearly. He wrote, "Compassion is the basis of morality. But what happens to morality when compassion is selective? When some suffering matters and some doesn't, you get the world we have now, where 4 times as many men kill themselves and nobody treats it as an emergency. The masculine wound, the wound happens early. Usually before age 10, a boy cries. He's told, big boys don't cry. A boy is afraid. He's told, don't be a baby. A boy wants comfort. He's told, figure it out yourself. Slowly, piece by piece, his emotional self is cut away until all that's left is the shell. The mask, the performance of strength. Sigmund Freud talked about repression, how we push unacceptable feelings into the unconscious. But they don't stay there quietly. They leak out in other ways. For men, that repression leaks out as anger, addiction, isolation, suicide. The wound festers, and nobody acknowledges it's there. The Stoic misunderstanding, society loves to blame Stoicism for male problems. Toxic masculinity, Stoic silence, emotional repression. But that's not what Stoicism actually teaches. Epictetus taught, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Real Stoicism isn't about denying emotions. It's about understanding them, processing them, choosing how to respond. But we've perverted Stoicism into silence, turned philosophy into suppression. We took wisdom meant to create strong, thoughtful men and used it to create broken, silent ones. That's not Stoicism's fault. That's our fault. The provider trap, a man's value is still measured by what he provides, his income, his status, his usefulness. A man without a job isn't just unemployed. He's worthless, useless, a failure. Women can find value in many places: career, relationships, motherhood, community, creativity. Men? Provide or perish? Robert Greene wrote about the laws of power. Law 15. Crush your enemy totally. Society has partially crushed men. Taken away their traditional roles without offering alternatives. Left them with nothing but the obligation to provide without the respect that once came with it. The loneliness by design. Men are discouraged from forming deep friendships. Bromance is mocked. Male vulnerability is suspicious. Men gathering without women present is labeled toxic. Meanwhile, women are encouraged to build support networks, to share feelings, to lean on each other. The result? Men face their suffering alone, completely alone. Jordan Peterson observed, the purpose of life is finding the largest burden that you can bear and bearing it. But humans aren't meant to bear burdens alone. We're social creatures. We need tribe, community, brotherhood. Men have been stripped of all 3, then blamed for being isolated. The invisible hand, nobody sat in a room and planned this. There's no conspiracy. No organized effort to make men suffer. It's worse than that. It's distributed, unconscious, woven into every institution and assumption. The invisible hand of culture guides us all, and it guides us to ignore male pain. Adam Smith talked about the invisible hand of the market. How individual choices create collective outcomes nobody planned. The same principle applies here. Millions of small choices, little moments of dismissal, tiny instances of man up. They add up, they compound. They create a system where male suffering is invisible by default. The awakening begins. They're realizing the game is rigged. That playing by the rules leads nowhere good. That sacrifice without recognition is just exploitation. Young men especially are checking out, not from life, but from a system that demands everything and offers nothing. They're choosing different paths. Minimalism, independence, brotherhood, meaning over money, purpose over provider role. Society calls them lazy, immature, man-children, Peter Pans who won't grow up. But maybe they're just refusing to play a game they can't win. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." These men are finding new whys. Different whys. Whys that don't depend on external validation or societal approval. The choice point, we're at a turning point, a choice point. As individuals and as a society, we can keep ignoring male suffering. Keep pretending it doesn't exist. Keep watching the suicide rates climb and the loneliness spread. Or we can choose differently. We can acknowledge pain wherever it exists. We can build support systems that actually support. We can create space for male emotion without calling it weakness. Plato said, the beginning is the most important part of the work. This is the beginning, right here, right now. Recognizing the problem is the first step toward solving it. The truth emerges, saying this shouldn't be controversial, it shouldn't be radical. It should be obvious. But we've built a world where obvious truths become dangerous heresies. So here's the dangerous truth. Male suffering is real. It's widespread. It's increasing. And it matters. Not more than anyone else's suffering. Not instead of anyone else's suffering, just as much. Pain is pain. Trauma is trauma. Humanity is humanity. Segment 3, closing. Now it's time for the most important part. What do we actually do about it? The final segment is about solutions, real, practical, actionable solutions. Not just for society, but for you. Right now. Today. Because talking about problems matters. Understanding matters. But action matters most. The path forward, Epictetus taught his students something powerful. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters." We can't change the past. Can't undo the damage, can't instantly fix broken systems. But we can choose how we respond, starting right now. This final segment is about power, your power. The power every man has to change his own life even when society won't change. Reclaim your story. The first step is simple but hard. Stop accepting society's story about who you are. You're not toxic for being male. You're not privileged for suffering. You're not weak for feeling pain. You're human. That's all. That's enough. Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Choose to become someone who acknowledges his own pain, who refuses to apologize for existing, who demands to be seen as fully human. Your story is yours. Not society's, not culture's, yours. Write it honestly. Live it authentically. Own it completely. Build brotherhood. Men need other men, not competition. Not hierarchy, brotherhood. Find 3 men you trust, real trust, deep trust. Start meeting regularly, not to watch sports, not to talk about work. To be real, share struggles, admit fears, ask for help. Offer support. This isn't weakness. This is survival. This is how humans are supposed to live. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the 2 rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. Build your tribe, your unit, your brotherhood. Do it deliberately. Protect it fiercely." Men with strong male friendships have lower suicide rates. better mental health, longer lives. Brotherhood isn't optional. It's essential. Embrace strategic stoicism. Real stoicism isn't suppression. It's wisdom. Epictetus taught, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. You can't control society, can't control the legal system, can't control cultural narratives, but you can control your response, your choices, your boundaries. Learn to distinguish between what you can change and what you can't. Focus your energy accordingly. Can't change family court? Focus on being the best father you can be in the time you have. Can't change workplace discrimination? Focus on building skills that make you valuable anywhere. Can't change social narratives? Focus on living with integrity regardless of what others think. This is strategic stoicism, not denial, not suppression. Wise allocation of limited energy. Protect your mental health. Your mental health is not negotiable. It's not optional. It's not something you handle when you have time. It's the foundation of everything else. If you're struggling, get help. Real professional help. Not self-help books. Not YouTube videos. Actual therapy. Yes, finding a good therapist is hard. Finding one who understands men is harder. Do it anyway. Albert Ellis taught that our beliefs create our emotions. If you believe asking for help is weakness, you'll avoid it. Change the belief. Change your life. Therapy isn't admission of failure. It's recognition of humanity. Athletes have coaches. Successful people have mentors. Why shouldn't struggling people have therapists? Redefine Success Society defines success for men in exactly one way: money and status. Wrong. Completely wrong. Real success is living with integrity, having meaningful relationships, waking up without dread, going to sleep without regret. Robert Greene warns about the costs of power. Every achievement has a price. Make sure you're willing to pay it. Redefine what success means to you. Not to your father, not to your friends, not to social media. To you, maybe success is being present for your kids. Maybe it's creating art. Maybe it's building a small business. Maybe it's living simply and peacefully. Your definition, your life, your choice. Set boundaries. This is where most men fail. They have no boundaries. They give everything to everyone until there's nothing left. Learn to say no to jobs, to people, to obligations, to expectations. You're not responsible for fixing everyone's problems. You're not obligated to sacrifice yourself for people who wouldn't do the same for you. Machiavelli taught that appearing generous while protecting yourself is wise. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Set clear boundaries. Enforce them consistently. Protect your energy like it's precious because it is. Choose your battles. Not every fight is worth fighting. Not every argument is worth having. Not every injustice requires your response. Hobbes understood that life is short and brutal. Don't make it more brutal by fighting battles you can't win. Pick your battles carefully. Fight the ones that matter. Let the rest go. Someone disrespects you online? Let it go. Not worth your energy. Someone threatens your children? Fight with everything you have. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Create meaning. Nietzsche's most famous quote: "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Find your why. Your purpose. Your reason for being here. It doesn't have to be grand. Doesn't have to change the world. Just has to matter to you. Maybe it's raising good kids. Maybe it's mastering a craft. Maybe it's helping your community. Maybe it's creating something beautiful. Find it. Pursue it. Let it guide you. Men without purpose drift. Men with purpose endure. Practice gratitude. This sounds soft. It's not. It's survival. Marcus Aurelius practiced gratitude daily. Wrote about it constantly. The most powerful man in the world took time every day to appreciate what he had. Not because life was perfect, because focusing on what's wrong will destroy you. Every night, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Small things. Real things. Hot water. Good coffee. A friend who checked in. A moment of peace. This isn't toxic positivity. This is training your brain to see beyond the darkness. Take physical action. Your body affects your mind. Your mind affects your body. They're not separate. Move. Lift. Run. Fight. Train. Whatever works for you. Physical strength builds mental strength. Physical discipline builds mental discipline. Jordan Peterson talks about standing up straight with your shoulders back. It's not just about posture. It's about embodying strength even when you don't feel it. Your body is a tool. Use it, maintain it, respect it. Mentor younger men. If you're older, more experienced, more stable, reach down. Help the next generation. Young men today are drowning. They have no guidance, no role models, no path forward. Be what you needed when you were younger. Show them it's possible to be a good man in a world that tells them they're toxic. This isn't charity. This is duty. This is how we break the cycle. Document your journey. Keep a journal. Write your thoughts. Record your progress. Document your struggles. Not for social media, for you, for clarity, for perspective. Sigmund Freud understood that putting words to feelings gives power over them. What's unnamed controls us. What's named can be managed. Write honestly. No audience. No performance. Just truth. The revolution is internal. Here's the final truth. The most important truth. You can't wait for society to change. Can't wait for systems to fix themselves. Can't wait for recognition that may never come. The revolution starts inside you, with your choices, your boundaries, your definitions of success and meaning. Carl Jung's last lesson. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Become who you truly are, not who society demands, not who women expect, not who other men judge you to be. Your authentic self, your real self. The man you are when nobody is watching and nobody is judging. The final call you're suffering is real. Your pain matters. Your life has value beyond what you produce or provide. You deserve support, compassion, recognition, help. And if society won't give it to you, give it to yourself. Build communities that will. Create systems that do. This isn't about competing with anyone else's suffering. It's about acknowledging your own. The men who came before you suffered in silence. They had no choice. They had no voice. They had no options. You do. Use them. The promise I can't promise. It gets easier. Can't promise society will change. Can't promise happy endings. But I can promise this. You're not alone. Your experience is valid. Your struggles are real. And there are thousands, maybe millions of men going through the same thing. Finding their way, building their tribes, reclaiming their lives. Join them. Be one of them. Help create the world where male suffering is acknowledged and addressed. Not someday, today, right now. Starting with you. Closing, Marcus Aurelius ended his meditations with simple wisdom. Do what nature demands. Begin it straightway. Nature demands honesty, demands community, demands recognition of suffering wherever it exists. Begin it. Straightway. Today. Your story isn't over. Your pain isn't permanent. Your life still has chapters unwritten. Write them well. Write them honestly. Write them as someone who refuses to suffer in silence anymore. This is raw and real. This is the truth they don't want spoken. But we spoke it anyway. Share this video with men who need to hear it. Comment your story below. Let's build something better together. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for having the courage to acknowledge what society refuses to see. Now go live like your suffering matters. Because it does.